Sometimes, life tests you in the smallest ways. A single act of kindness can change everything. One night, one table, one decision could save a soul and change a life forever. It was a cold, rainy night in New York City. The streets were slick with water from the steady rain, reflecting the neon lights from restaurants, coffee shops, and traffic signals. The wind carried the faint scent of wet asphalt, mixed with the occasional whiff of street food, and the sound of distant sirens created a rhythmic hum that blended with the city's heartbeat. Inside HarborViewRestaurant, the atmosphere was quiet, almost melancholic. The dim, yellowish light from hanging lamps reflected off polished wooden tables, casting gentle shadows. Only a few chairs were scattered around, with the soft hum of the refrigerator and the occasional clinking of cutlery breaking the stillness. Outside, rain tapped insistently on the glass windows, creating a natural melody that seemed to harmonize with the quiet of the nearly empty restaurant. Olivia, a 22-year-old waiter, moved through the tables slowly, wiping down surfaces for the last time that night. Her uniform was slightly wrinkled, aprons smeared from the day's work. Her hair had strands falling over her forehead from hours of rushing between tables. Olivia was exhausted, yet her mind refused to rest. Her younger brother Ethan was ill, and she had been working double shifts to gather money for his surgery. Every penny mattered. Every tip could make a difference. Her phone buzzed in her apron pocket. She pulled it out, her eyes scanning the message. Rent due tomorrow. Medicine, $0 left. The words felt heavier than the humid New York air. Her stomach twisted, and for a moment she stopped breathing. She took a deep breath, shoved the phone back into her pocket, and continued wiping the tables. Tonight, every second would test her heart and her courage. The restaurant door creaked open, letting in a gust of cold air and the unmistakable sound of rain hitting the floor mat. A woman entered, her coat damp, hair streaked with gray, and her eyes holding the weight of decades of sorrow. This was Margaret, 55 years old. She moved slowly toward the corner of the restaurant, dragging invisible burdens behind her. Her steps were measured, almost careful, as if she didn't want to disturb the air around her. Olivia couldn't take her eyes off her. There was something in her presence, an aura of pain mixed with dignity that made Olivia pause mid-step. Margaret reached the corner table and sat down silently, her hands resting on the table with delicate precision. Her gaze wandered across the restaurant, noting every detail: the flickering candle on each table, the polished wood, the faint reflection of the ceiling lights on the window glass. "I'll have the house special, the one everyone loves," she whispered, her voice soft, yet carrying an unmistakable weight. Olivia noticed her trembling hands, the slight shaking of her fingers as they hovered above the table. She sensed that this woman's story was deep, that her silence held 1,000 memories. In the kitchen, the staff prepared the meal with care. The chefs worked quietly, aware of the near-empty restaurant and the solitary guest. A steaming bowl of lobster bisque, a plate of roasted salmon with herbs, and a side of freshly baked bread arrived on a tray. Olivia carried it to Margaret's table, her own hands trembling slightly from exhaustion and anticipation. She set the tray down, the aroma of food mingling with the scent of rain and polished wood. Margaret began eating slowly, deliberately, savoring each bite. It was not just food she consumed. It was a memory, a ritual, a way to hold on to something she had lost. Olivia watched quietly, respecting the woman's space, yet curiosity gnawed at her. After a few moments, she asked gently, "Are you waiting for someone, ma'am?" Margaret paused, her eyes locking with Olivia's. There was a depth in them that words could not capture. "My daughter. She used to work here as a waiter, just like you, exactly like you," Margaret said, her voice barely above a whisper. Olivia's heart tightened, a cold shiver running down her spine. 2 years ago, she never came home after her shift. A drunk driver hit her. She never returned. The weight of those words fell heavily in the quiet restaurant. Her hands instinctively clutched the edge of the tray she had just set down. The silence was profound. The restaurant seemed to hold its breath. Olivia's eyes filled with tears she fought to hold back. Margaret continued, "I come here every year, her birthday, to her favorite table. Tonight I just wanted to sit where she loved to sit one last time." The tremble in her voice was faint but unmistakable. It carried grief, longing, and a quiet plea that reached into Olivia's heart. The check arrived, $72. Margaret reached for her purse, only to find it empty. Her eyes glistened, and she whispered, "I've spent all I had on her funeral, and her memories. I just wanted to sit here tonight. I'll pay tomorrow, if it's all right." At that moment, Mr. Thompson, the restaurant owner, appeared. "This isn't a charity, Olivia. Either pay now or the restaurant pays." His voice was stern, unyielding, cutting through the rain's patter outside. Olivia froze. She opened her wallet. $200, the exact money she needed for Ethan's surgery. If she used it, she could save Margaret's dignity tonight, but risk her brother's life. Her chest ached, her mind racing with impossibilities. Olivia took a deep breath, steadying herself. She thought of Ethan's frail smile, of Margaret's sorrowful gaze, of the weight of compassion pressing down on her. She decided. Slowly, trembling yet determined, she swiped her card and paid the bill. Margaret's eyes widened with a mixture of relief and disbelief. Tears pooled in her eyes as she grasped Olivia's hand. "You've kept my daughter's memory alive tonight. You've honored her," she said. And then, as quietly as she had arrived, Margaret left, stepping into the rainy night, leaving behind only the faint scent of her perfume mixed with the wet air. 2 days later, Olivia received a phone call from New York City Medical Center. "Olivia, we have news about your brother's surgery." Her heart pounded, every beat like a drum. The staff explained that the surgery had been fully covered anonymously. Olivia opened the envelope that came with the hospital documents. Inside was a note, written in elegant handwriting. "My daughter never got the chance to save lives, but tonight her spirit lives through yours. You saved her memory and your brother's life. A mother." Olivia sank to the floor, tears streaming freely down her face. She realized that giving, even when you cannot afford it, could bring miracles she never imagined. The small act of kindness she had done in a quiet corner of HarborViewRestaurant had rippled far beyond the walls of the restaurant, touching lives in ways she could not yet comprehend. The following evening, Olivia walked past the same corner table. The rain had slowed to a gentle drizzle. She whispered softly. She didn't just eat. She left a piece of her soul behind. The candle flickered faintly on the table, and the soft reflection of the city lights danced in the wet glass window. Somewhere, Margaret smiled, knowing that kindness had traveled beyond that small restaurant, echoing through the world in unseen ways. Olivia looked at the empty chair and understood. The smallest act of courage, a decision made from the heart, could echo through eternity, changing lives in ways one could never predict. And sometimes, just sometimes, the universe returns the favor in ways far beyond comprehension. Sometimes, giving what you cannot afford saves more than a life. It saves a soul.